have with me Mr. Matt Hogan, Senior Vice President of Project Development, CMB Regional Centers. Thank you so much, for being a part of this conversation. I think, Matt, to begin with, if you can tell our audience and our viewers, what is CMB Regional Centers' main business? I mean, if you could tell us, what really does it entail?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. CMB Regional Centers is an EB5 regional center. So we are designated by the USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, to make EB5 investment or offer EB5 investment opportunities to immigrant investors who are wishing to come to the United States and earn permanent residency.
Okay, and if you can also tell us the benefits of the EB5 visa.
Sure. The EB5 visa is one of the fastest ways to be able to immigrate to the U.S. and earn a green card, permanent residency. And so what it does is through one investment, minimum investment threshold of $800,000 US, it can provide a path to permanent residency. And ultimately, if you choose, you can go on to pursue citizenship if that investment is able to create 10 new American jobs.
Okay, again, when we talk about regional centers or the use of services, are all the regional centers same, or how should one really be choosing the regional center which would work for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, there are probably about 500 different regional centers. So it's a very competitive industry. And these are different companies that are all authorized to be able to provide these EB5 investment opportunities to people who would like to immigrate to the US under this program. They are not all created the same. Some of them might just be one person who filed for this designation and holds a piece of paper and chooses to try to go out and sponsor projects under their regional center designation. They may actually have really no involvement in the structuring of that investment opportunity or the functions of the operation of that business that gets built. Others are more involved. Some are an actual developer that's gone out and secured a regional center designation, and they go out and try to raise capital for their own projects. That structure is common. You got to be careful because there can be a conflict of interest, right? You have a developer who's choosing to raise capital that they're going to control to build their company or to build their project. They care about building their project, right? They're a developer. They may not care necessarily about your immigration pursuit, so you do have to be careful with that. And then the third most common structure is kind of what we would call the third-party regional center, and that's what CMB and a lot of the groups in the industry are, where we're a company that holds that designation, and we go out and we actually seek EB5 investment opportunities that we think provides our investors with the highest likelihood of success. So we find those projects, we make sure they qualify under the terms of the program, we structure those, we underwrite those similarly to a traditional lender or a bank, and we structure those for EB5 compliance. We ultimately then file project petitions with the US government and then go out and seek investors to invest into that offering. Those types of regional centers perform a very significant role because not only are they finding those projects and structuring those opportunities, but then they're also monitoring those projects throughout their life cycle. They're providing information to the investor as far as how that project is performing, and then they're also gathering all the relevant information related to the job creation that the investors need to be successful in their immigration pursuit. And when the time comes for them to file their final immigration petition and secure the permanent green card, they provide that information to the investor and their attorney so that they can file that petition.
So choosing the right regional center obviously plays a very important role, yeah?
It's huge. It's critical. You want to make sure that you're working with a regional center that's been around for a long time. You want to make
credibility comes.
Credibility, integrity, track record. I think there's also a lot of stress put on just the sheer numbers. CMB is one of the largest in the industry. We've worked with over 6,700 investors from over 104 countries, many right here in India. But we've been around. We've seen it all. We've now navigated the challenges of the industry. We were established in 1997, so we've gone through the 2008 financial crisis in the US. We've gone through COVID. And of course, a company that's been around as long as CMB, we've faced challenges. And so you need to know the company that you're investing into, how have they navigated those challenges? How have they reacted to these changes in the industry and changes in government structure that can impact your immigration process? And have they been able to do that successfully?
Matt, if you can also share with us, what are the key factors when an individual is considering the EB5 program? What all factors should they keep in mind, especially when they're evaluating at one point, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you want to pick a project that number one, you understand. and that you're comfortable with. At the end of the day, it's your decision. You don't get directed into a project by the regional center. The regional centers offer those projects to you, and you should be doing your due diligence. You should be making sure that not only you understand that regional center, as we just discussed, but then you're understanding the developer behind the project, how it's structured, how they anticipate the job creation to be achieved. You should be looking at all of those factors and trying to make a holistic decision on what the best opportunity is for you.
So then you use the term due diligence, obviously, which is key when somebody is looking at taking up, the decision of actually, applying for the EB-5 visa. Could you specify a little bit more when it comes to legal as well as finance due diligence? Because of course, when money is involved, if you can just tell us a little bit.
Sure. And, one thing I want to say is that, when CMB structures our project, we have a simple company motto, and that's if we put our investors first and our investors have success, we as a company will have success. And that couldn't be more true, because our successful investors refer additional clients to us, right? If we have failures, we don't uphold our agreements with our investors, or we betray their trust in some way, shape, or form, that spigot gets shut off. We have negative marketing out there in the industry, and so we care very much about that. Part of setting yourself up for success is doing that early due diligence. From a financial perspective, that's gathering all the documentation and reviewing all the documentation on that project, how it's supposed to be constructed. Is it fully permitted? Is it fully entitled? Does it have any legal challenges that could stop it from moving forward once it enters, before or once it enters its construction phase? Is it fully financed? There's more to just completing the financing of a project than just the EB-5. In fact, if you go out and you find a project that just has EB-5 in it, doesn't have developer equity, doesn't have any other bank debt, you should be very weary of that because they've probably over-levered EB-5. So you need to understand that those other pieces of that structure are there. You need to make sure that it's financially sound and that the regional center is stress tested the operations, the projected operations of that project, and they've studied and they understand the market that project's going to be in, and that they've really evaluated the exit strategy. How feasible is it going to be for that project to be refinanced or sold at the point in time in which the loan matures and investors are supposed to be seeking repayment? From a legal standpoint, a lot of that goes in parallel to the things I just talked about, but then it also goes into the critical documentation, making sure that we've structured not only our loan, but the EB-5 investment partnership to be compliant with EB-5 law, but to protect the investor and their investment throughout that entire process, making sure that we have proper collateral, that we have tight default provisions within our loans that are enforceable. And then critical, make sure you're working with a regional center that has the ability, the team, the wherewithal to enforce the terms and conditions of the loan agreement. Some will not. Some will say, oh, sorry, didn't work out. Investors, you're on your own.
So keep all the factors in mind. Ensure that, the center which you're going to, the regional center, has all these things in mind. I think that's, again, very valid. Something I think which is interesting, and again, I'm sure it's a tough one, timelines. I think that is bothers everybody. How much time? I'm sure those are the questions you get. So give us a little insight on that as well.
Sure. So the timeline, what investors need to understand is that when you're making an EB-5 investment, it is going to take time. There is no quick and easy method to getting your green card right now and getting your money back in a couple of days. These things take time. The typical EB-5 life cycle, without backlogs and things of that nature, is still going to take you, roughly 5 to 7 years to complete. And that's from start to finish, from the point in time in which you make your investment and you file your petition to the point in time in which you have the conditions removed on your green card, and that green card becomes permanent and you have your capital repaid to you. So again, it's critical you work with a regional center that's there now, but is also going to be there in 7 years. So they need to have a team that's in place. They need to be financially sound, that they can protect you and kind of withstand the changes that may come. But then as far as the timelines are concerned, I think investors sometimes get overly concerned with trends in the industry. Right now, a huge trend is rural projects. Rural projects, I've got to have rural projects. Well, the reality is that rural projects do have a priority processing provision, and they have more visas set aside for them than projects in high unemployment areas. But if you go back a few years and start looking at the portfolios of all of the regional centers in the industry, how many of them had rural projects? None. Well, why is that? And why would they incentivize people to invest into those rural projects? It's because it's very difficult to secure financing for rural projects because they're inherently more risky, significantly more risky. So if you're really concerned about getting your capital back and making sure that the project's successful, you really want to weigh that carefully. Don't just jump at a rural project because it might reduce your overall timeline or might get you faster processing or a faster green card. You may be jeopardizing the return of your capital. So take that into consideration. If you're in the United States, you don't need a rural project. If you're a parent here in India and you're helping a son or daughter who's in the United States, let's say they're on H-1B, and they want to get off of H-1B and have a little bit more certainty in their status, and you want to gift them those funds or make the investment on their behalf to allow them to use the EB-5 program, they don't need rural. A critical part of this right now is that the the EB-5 law that was passed in 2022 allows investors who are already in the United States to file concurrently and change their status, which allows them to remain in the United States even when that visa is processing. So they don't, the timelines really don't matter to those people. The timelines don't matter because they can remain in the United States as that process runs in parallel to their daily life.
Yeah, because they are there. Well, thanks so much for all those valuable insights. Lastly, a piece of advice you would like to give the investors, somebody who's looking in, to take the EB-5 route.
Yeah, I guess, the biggest piece of advice that I would give investors is that you have to have a sound team. And what I mean by that is you have to pick a quality regional center, one that you can trust, one that's going to support you, one that you know how they've performed over time and what they do if challenges arise. That's critical. But you also have to have a quality immigration attorney. And the same thing is true with that immigration attorney. You have to see what their track record is, how long they've been in the industry. Have they been able to assist the clients through this process? Are they experienced in this industry? And then for clients here in India, it's also critical that you have sound financial advice from a chartered accountant that can help you best understand the tax consequences of your investment, that can help you organize your funds, that can help you move those funds into the United States. The US government really cares where those funds came from. They want to make sure that your money is a lawful source, came from a lawful source. So documenting that is going to be critical. The attorney, the chartered accountant can both play a hand in that role. They also want to know that you have, in a compliant way, moved the funds to the United States for your EB-5 investment. So they want to see that path. They want to see how those funds were moved. They want to make sure that that's legally compliant. If you're going to break the laws of your home country, you're probably going to break the laws in the United States. So they will heavily review that and scrutinize that. So all three of those parties are critical. Proper regional center, experienced regional center, experienced attorney, experienced chartered accountant that can all help you each step of the way.
Along with the the regional center, the attorney, which you rightly said, I think most importantly, is due diligence and, doing your own homework and research. I think that's really, really key. It's really been a pleasure to have you with us, Matt. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.